What is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to another video. Today we got an awesome effect, something I call the connection. Now this effect is something I have been doing for a very long time. I've got a lot of mileage out of, and it's beautiful because it's a simple effect, but the plot is what makes it so strong. The amount of different ways you can take this, bring people together, and the amount of stories that you can get into in this effect is what really make it beautiful. It's one of the few effects I do with 2 decks, and it is brilliant. I'm going to show you guys the original, and then I'm going to show you guys a way with a completely impromptu version. As you will see, there is a little bit of things you need for the first version, and then I will show you a completely impromptu version. So make sure you stick around to the other ideas section to see another variation and a completely impromptu version. So just before we jump in, as always, I want to mention the private lessons. If you guys are interested in taking some lessons, go check them out at the link below. And with all that said, let's jump right into a performance of the connection. So let's imagine a situation where you're sat down with a young couple and you ask them about their connection, about their bond. And obviously they respond positively, but you're a magician, so you want to test if they're true soulmates with a little experiment you call the connection. You hand them each a deck of cards and ask them to remove it from its box. They are then invited to look through the deck and see that the cards are all different and all mixed. All different, all mixed. They can then shuffle their respective decks as much as they would like until they are completely satisfied with the order of the cards. The other participant can do the same thing, shuffling the cards as much as they would like until they are completely satisfied with the order of the cards. You're then going to spread out this deck and make sure all the backs are roughly visible, so that they can make a truly fair selection of pretty much any card that they would like here. So yeah, that should work right about there. Now, in order for this test to work, you need them both to, maintain eye contact and truly build that strong connection. So you invite them to make eye contact, and as they're doing that, this participant is going to hover his finger across the deck. Whenever it feels right, as they're maintaining that eye contact, he's just going to drop his finger down. So they're maintaining eye contact, building that connection, and whenever it feels right, he drops his finger onto one card and pushes it forward. Now this card is left isolated from the rest of the spread. You then invite the other participant to do something similar. They're going to hover their hand up and down while maintaining eye contact. And whenever that feels right, whenever they get that feeling, they're just going to reach in and cut off the cards wherever they'd like. Now, they could have cut wherever they'd like, and he could have selected any card. And under these conditions, with the decks truly shuffled, all different, if these cards were to match, that is truly a miracle and truly proof of a strong connection. So let's see what card you cut to. And they take a look, and they have the 2 of hearts. Now, I don't even want to touch this card. Let's see how strong your connection truly is. The 2 of hearts. Alright guys, so let's get into the breakdown of the original version of a connection. Now this effect is very simple, and that's the great thing about it. It uses simple principles, simple ideas, so that you have a lot of time to focus on the plot. Okay, and I think the plot is what makes this strong. And now it doesn't just have to be between romantic partners. This can be testing friendship connections, family connections, all kinds of different things. And at the end of the day, you don't need to worry because the result of this effect will always be something positive. You're always leaving them with a good connection. Now in the right situation, I would play around with purposely getting the suit wrong or purposely getting the value off by 1 if it's the type of situation that lends itself to comedic potential. I have done that before. And then there's a lot of opportunities for funny jokes when the suits don't match or something like that, right? But, be careful with that sort of presentation. So, the only thing that you need besides a regular deck of cards is a marked deck of cards, okay? So in this case, I'm using the Boris Wilde marked deck, and you are good to go. You only need 1 of the decks to be marked for this to work. Now, again, in the other ideas section, I am going to cover a version that uses 2 regular deck of cards that is still incredibly fair and incredibly clean, using a move that I just recently taught on the channel. So, first things first, I like to start with the decks in the box, because it feels isolated. It feels like, nothing's happened. It almost gives that illusion that it's a brand new deck, but not necessarily brand new, but that the deck hasn't been tampered with, right? Which I like. In the presentation, I hand each of them the box, and I begin by explaining that we're going to do a test of their connection, okay? Or, if they're friends, we'll do a test of their friendship or whatever it happens to be. And you can take this in a lot of different ways, which is great. I invite them both to take out the deck, and you need to first reach for the marked deck. And you're going to spread it or go through it or have them go through it and just say, I want you to look through and see that all the cards are completely different, okay? And that's important because it's later going to justify when we need to do something a little bit sneaky. So they do that, they look through and they say, yep, all different. They can show both people that they're all different. Now you invite both of them to shuffle. Now there's a reason we haven't yet invited this person to make sure their deck is all different, but we will get to that in a second. So now they are both shuffling and they shuffle as much as they would like. Now we set up the test conditions. First things first, we spread the marked deck on the table, and now we explain how the test works. So I like to build this up. You get this beautiful moment with the spectator hovering their hand over the deck while making eye contact with the other one. So this is great for the plot of having a connection, testing your intuition. So you tell them that you want them to hover their hand over the cards while making eye contact. Whenever they feel something, whenever it feels right, just drop their hand onto one card. So now they'll do that, and it truly does not matter where they drop their hand, and they push that card forward, isolating that card from the spread, and you get that beautiful image of the card completely isolated, and you are never going to go near that card, never touch it, which is beautiful. At this point, all you need to do is read the marking. So I immediately know this is the 8 of clubs. And now I'm well on my way. So now I don't ever want to get too close to that card. I want to leave it there, leave it on its own, leave it isolated. Now, this is the moment where we're gonna do a sneaky move by using the fact that we've never checked this deck to make sure it's all different. So you say, I just want to show you that all of these cards are completely different as well. So I used to pretend like I forgot, and I'd be like, oh, I never showed you that these cards are all different too, so let me do that. But I've kind of moved away from that, and I prefer now just saying, let me show you also that these cards are completely different and completely mixed. And now all I'm going to do is call the 8 of clubs to the top of the deck. Okay, I'm either going to do that, or what you could do is get a break at the 8 of clubs and pass it to the top, or probably do like a turnover pass of some sort as you set the deck back down. If you're not as comfortable with the call, realistically you could probably just cut it to where you need it. So I pick up the deck and I say, all right, I just want to show you that all of these cards are completely different as well. You can see, completely shuffled, no 2 cards are the same, they're all different, and we're good to go. And in that, I've controlled it to the top. So I do that, and then I just kind of throw the deck down, right? Again, another option, you go through, you say, I want to show you all these cards are different, completely mixed. You're going to hold a break right below the 8 of clubs. So you go through, all these cards are completely different, and you keep going. You say, look, all different, you mix them, hold my break, and then I execute a turnover pass as I set the cards down. And I like to just kind of throw the cards down, loosely, like, there's no control over that. I was just quickly showing, look, all the cards are different. Perfect. No, don't do that. Don't flip the card over, but you just show they're all different, you just set them down. Now you're going to invite them to do a very similar thing, okay? You say, all right, now I want you to look into their eyes, make that connection. Whenever it feels right, just cut the cards wherever you'd like. So they reach in, let's say they cut the cards here. Then all you're going to do is take the other packet and set it just gently off to the side like that. You don't need to bring attention to why you're doing it. You just do it, okay? And this is where we're going to get into the crosscut force in a moment. Now, the beautiful thing about this routine, we're combining a force with a free selection. So they all kind of get convoluted to make them both feel very, very fair. And it's nice to have slightly different selection methods as well. And you can also play off that. Whatever the characters are, you could talk about, I feel like you're a more creative thinker, so I like to give you more range when you make your selection. And you're more analytical, right? You really like to feel and make the proper selection and have everything nice and tidy when you make yours. And you can build that up into the routine as well as to why you're having them selected different ways, right? You can tie that in with men and women, you can tie that in with, creative versus analytical. There's all kinds of ways to really hype up this presentation as well. So you get to this point, now is where we need to recap. And the typical recapping that I say is, think about this, you guys each shuffled the deck, they're all completely different, and you made a completely free selection. I've never went near that card. You cut the cards wherever you'd like. Now under these conditions, it would be truly impossible for those cards to be the same, unless you guys had a true connection. Now what I'm going to do is you want to reveal the cut card first, because this one is the fairest, right? So it's the most impossible, so we leave that to the end. So all you're going to do is you're going to reach down and pick up this packet, and you're going to say, turn over the card you cut to. And this is great because it totally is going to eliminate any sort of confusion with the crosscut force, right? If you pick up this packet and you gesture, now they can't, take the actual card they cut to because it's in your hand. So you say, all right, just pick up the card you cut to and take a look. It will now flip that card over, the 8 of clubs, and immediately I usually just set that down. I say 8 of clubs. Now I don't want to go anywhere near that card, but take a look. And you also get the 8 of clubs, and you have a true miracle. So that is the original handling of the connection. This is the way I've done it for a very long time. But now let's jump into the other ideas section, and I will show you some other variations with an unmarked deck and a variation that is completely impromptu with no setup. So for the other ideas variation, let's first look at an unmarked version. So this version is unmarked, but it's not completely impromptu because it is going to use a setup. So if you get rid of the marked deck, right, and you replace it with a deck in stack or a deck in size Stebbins. If you don't know size Stebbins stack, you can go check out my video on that and learn it very quickly. The trade-off here with not having a marked deck is that the size Stebbins deck cannot be shuffled, but there's an easy psychological way to kind of get around that. So both decks would start in the box, they're removed, and you can quickly show they are all different and all mixed. Then what I like to do is spread out the deck in size Stebbins while I invite this spectator to shuffle their cards as much as they would like. Okay, so now you get this moment where the cards are being shuffled by the spectator, but not this deck because it's spread. You don't need to justify it, it's spread out on the table. Now while they're shuffling, you explain what you're going to do with this person, right? If you want, before you do the spread, while this person's shuffling, you can invite this person to cut the deck a couple of times. But I don't find that truly necessary, and I almost find it points more to the fact that this one's not being shuffled, right? You could just have them both be cut, but personally, I just like to take them out of the box and I say, all right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to make a selection while you are going to shuffle these cards. So they shuffle the cards. Again, you have them make eye contact, and they do this thing and they put their finger in and pull out one card. Now while they do this, it's gonna leave a marking of where it came from. It's gonna either pull out some cards like this, or it's gonna be spread wider, and you can see where that card's taken from, right? So now that this deck is in stack, all you need to do is pick up the cards on this side like this, and you get a peek of that card as you throw it on. So I saw that it was beneath the 4 of hearts, so now if I was in Stebbins, I would add 3, which would get me a 7, and then I'd go clubs, hearts, spades. So it'd be the 7 of spades. So again, you have your spread, a card is pulled out, and now I know where that card came from, so I'm gonna pick up like this. What you can do is turn your wrist face up to get a peek of that as you square up these and put that at the bottom, right? So again, how that looks, pull it out like this, and you pick up this, turn the wrist as you pick up these, and I just get a peek at the 6 of diamonds. Another option, a little bit more covert if you prefer, is just as you're squaring this up like this, you get a slight peek towards yourself of the 5 of diamonds. And once you've peeked the card above in your stack, you know what the next one's going to be. Now you know what that card is, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to say, look, you've seen that all of these cards are different, call out the card, put it on top, execute the crosscut force, and the cards will match. So that is a version without the marked deck, but it does use a stack. So of course, I always would prefer the marked deck version, but just to give you guys another idea if it's something else that you like. Now let's talk about the version that is completely impromptu, and another version that I really, really love and do use quite often of this effect when I don't have my marked deck around. So in this version, same thing, cards start in the box, are taken out, and then they are both shuffled by the spectators. So this one's great because they both get to shuffle. Now you're going to pick up one deck, I'll use this deck in this case, and you're going to spread through after the shuffle and show them that all the cards are different. All you're going to do is clock that top card. So let's say 7 of diamonds. And now, as you go to flip it, you're going to use your fingers to push that card over, and you're going to turn the cards as if you're going to shuffle it and do a reversal on the bottom of the deck, okay? So at speed, you go through, clock the 7 of diamonds, square up and shuffle, and you have that 7 of diamonds reversed on the bottom, okay? Another option is instead, as you do this, you clock the bottom card and half pass it. that is your choice as well. The only other thing you need to do is place one other indifferent card on top of that card. So then I'll say, you know, in a second, you're gonna choose a card, and I'll just call out a random card and push it to the bottom. So that whole process at speed, they shuffle, I'm gonna clock the top card, Jack of Spades, and I say, look, in a second, you're gonna take the deck, and you're actually gonna make a selection of any one of these cards, all right? And now I have my setup with the Jack of Spades, face up, one card from the bottom. So now, if you've seen my recent video on the fan force, we are in a perfect situation to execute the fan force. So I'd like to set that deck down and come back to it in a sec. So we've just shown that one's all different, so now let's show this one's all different. So I say, look, and you can see that this one is different as well. All the cards are shuffled. Well, you mixed them, so of course they're shuffled. And in that moment, I'm just looking again for the Jack of Spades, and I'm gonna cull it out as well and put it at the top of the deck, setting up for the crosscut force. So now all our setup's done, and now we just execute two forces, and it's brilliant. So the first one, you say, look, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna take this fan, hold your hands like this, and you're gonna go under the table or behind your back, and I want you to remove one card anywhere from the middle and place it back somewhere in the middle of the fan, close it up, and give the cards a cut about in half, as close to in half as you can. They do so, and they come back out. Over here, you say, I want you to cut those cards and set them off to the side like that. Now you're in a great position. So what I like to do at this point is my recapping. I say, think about that. You guys each shuffled your deck, you cut any card, and you've placed one card face up in this deck. Now under these conditions, it's truly impossible, but if these cards matched, it would be a true miracle. So then I'll spread the fan and spread it like this, face up, and I'll say, look, so you have one card face up, and if I can, I'll set it down like this, and then I will, invite them. I'll say, here, look, just take a look at the card you cut to. They will take a look. They have Jack of Spades, and I say, you take out the card you flipped over, and they have the Jack of Spades as well, and we have another miracle. So how this looks at a bit of speed, the cards are shuffled by each of the spectators. I take one of the decks and I say, look, the cards are completely mixed. You shuffled them, right? So in a second, I'm gonna have you select a card, right? So you can go through and you can pick any card like this, but I don't want to do it like that. I want to do it in a bit of a special way. But first, I want to show you that all of these cards are different as well. So you can see all of them completely shuffled, completely mixed, of course, because you shuffled them. So what I'd like to do now is you're each gonna, we're gonna do a bit of a test of your connection. So I want you each to make eye contact, and when it feels right, you'll make your selection. So hold your hand like this. I'm gonna give you this fan, go behind your back, and whenever it feels right, just keep your eye contact. I want you to flip over one card face up, shove it back in the middle of the deck, close it up, and cut the cards. Perfect. Now you, again, keeping your eye contact, just cut wherever you'd like. Now think about it, under these conditions, the cards were shuffled, mixed, all different. You cut to whatever card you want. You've placed one card face up in the deck. Now it would be a true miracle if these cards happen to match. So look, you have one card face up here. Take a look at the card you cut to. Five of Spades, how crazy would it be? This was also the Five of Spades. All right, guys, so that is the connection. I hope you enjoyed this trick. It's a great trick. There's a lot of different ways to do it. So do whichever one you like, whichever version of it you enjoy. Me personally, the original with the marked deck is always gonna be the best. It's the most streamlined, the easiest, and the one where you can really just take your time and focus on the presentation, which I really love. The impromptu version is also great if I wanna do the effect. Usually I'll use that in the case where I don't have a marked deck, but I really think the effect would work well for the situation or the people that I'm with. So let me know what version you guys like, if there's any tweaks that you would make to it and how you would change it and how you're gonna perform this effect. Again, for me, the premise is the greatest, and you can go so many different ways. You can make it intimate, you can make it funny. So just before I sign off here, I wanna mention my private lessons. If you guys would like help with any of this material, any of my material, anything you've seen me perform, card magic or mentalism related, you can go check out my private lessons at my website below, and we can get in contact and set up one of those. I have a great deal going on right now where you can save some money on some 3-lesson and 5-lesson deals for a limited time. So check that out if you're interested. And with all that said, guys, don't forget to like this video, drop a comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will catch you in the next video.